Book will remain in print indefinitely and for no less than 3 years, the print run adaptive and limited, with copies printed as they are ordered and at the expense of the buyer. The author is not required to fund prepayment of a print run and will not be subject to annual print availability fees. Publisher is not responsible for printer or postal error. An author is free to utilize other print and distribution options at his or her discretion. Author has final say over pricing of the book as listed with the distributor within the pricing requirements mandated by manufacturing costs and retailer discretion. So let's start at the beginning and walk through this. So I mentioned a little bit of this earlier on about print on demand. So print on demand basically just says that your book is going to be in print and that copies are going to be ordered when somebody orders them. There's no print run. Author is not required to fund prepayment of a print run. There's no annual print availability fees. That's something you see with other presses where it's like, oh, well, you want your book to keep being printed, you've got to pay us every single year to make that happen. Okay, we don't have that. Also, we just make sure that with print on demand that your book just stays in print. If you have a print run, there's the possibility that your book will go out of print and stop existing. The world is full of books that used to exist that no longer do. The whole thing with this clause is that we want your book to stay in existence, right? So no less than 3 years just guarantees that even in the circumstance of apocalypse, or one of our printers going under or something like that, that we're going to make sure that we keep your book live. That part is really, really key and important. So the buyer is the one who is going to be paying for these books being printed. Okay, as it says, publisher is not responsible for printer or postal error. An author is free to utilize other print distribution options at his or her discretion. So as you can understand, Atmosphere is not the printer and we are not the post office. So if the printer or post office do something to, make a book that you don't like, or they print ones that are messed up, that's not Atmosphere's fault. If that happens, though, do let us know and we will start a fight with the printer on your behalf. We do it all the time. If the printer, or the post office loses a box of books that you order, we will bother the printer and bother the post office until they replace your books. That's something that we are happy and willing to do. We just want you to know up front that it's not something that we personally messed up. So we just think that it's important that you understand that Atmosphere is not the printer and we're not the post office, but we will certainly advocate for you and pick fights with those places on your behalf. If one of your consumers, one of your readers, places an order with Amazon and Amazon loses it, the reader would have to pick that fight with Amazon, though, of course, because that's an Amazon and buyer relation. That's not something that we have any control over because we, of course, don't control Amazon. We have no access to that book order at all because the buyer is the one who placed it. So we just want to make sure that those things are clear. As it says, author is free to utilize other print and distribution options. So earlier in the contract, it stated that Atmosphere will use the distributors and printers that we have relationships with. That's true. We're not going to work with other random printers in random places. But if you, for example, really want to work with, this printer that's right down the street from where you live, you're friends with the person who owns it, we're not going to stop you from printing your book with them. We're going to be excited for you. Great, buy local. We love it. We would love it if you bought your books directly through printers that you knew, places that you had relationships with. We think that that's wonderful, and we want you to be able to support whoever you want. Similarly and differently, if you say, hey, I can get a great price on author copies if I buy a bajillion copies of my book from China, by all means, knock yourself out. We're not going to stop you. The thing is that you owning the rights to your book is something we take seriously. And that really means that you can print your book wherever you want, whenever you want, and we're not going to get in the way of that. Regarding you having final say over the pricing, within the pricing requirements mandated by manufacturing costs and retailer discretion, you have final say over pricing. We're not going to come to you and be like, your book costs $25. That's the law. We're not going to do that. You're the one who has final say over the pricing of the book. Okay, that part's really key. You can list the book with the distributor as whatever you want, but there is a caveat we need to make clear. Within the pricing requirements mandated by manufacturing costs and retailer discretion. So that means that if the manufacturer says this book needs to be priced at least $14.99 for it to not suffer a loss on every single copy, then you can't come and say, I want the book to be listed for $9. It's not possible. The book is too expensive to manufacture for it to be priced that low. So this is something that during our big call with you, we will discuss very directly. Like, this is how much you're going to make at these certain pricing amounts. If your book is $17.99, you might make roughly this much. If your book is $19.99, these are the pros and cons. And if you're like, I want my book to be $12, if we'll look into that, we'll try to make it happen for you. But if the manufacturer says it can't be that low, then that's just the rule. This bit with retailer discretion, that's just because places like Amazon, they might price the book differently depending on what sales they're running. If Amazon's running a Black Friday sale, they might be like, oh, that book was listed as $17.99, but now we want to have a discount. We want to sell it for $14.99. We can't do anything to change that. That's just what they're saying. But the awesome thing about this is that even if Amazon lowers the cost, you will make the exact same amount. That's the key. Okay, that's one thing I want to make really clear, is that even if Amazon or a bookstore or whatever does some crazy deal where they're selling your book for less than you want them to sell it for, you're still going to make the same amount. That's just Amazon saying that they are willing to take less money. Okay, they're taking that out of their cut, not out of your cut. So that's something that's really key there. But again, this is all stuff. If it's like seems overwhelming now to think through all this, just know we've got your back. We're going to talk through all of this with you in excruciating detail to help you be able to make the decisions that are best for you. Because again, we want your book to be successful and we want you to make the money that you can make off of it.